Hey guys, it's Debbie Potts, and I am the host of the Low Carb Athlete podcast, where we talk about how you can become a fit and healthy athlete from the inside out, tips and tricks to improve fat burning, weight loss, that's a goal, or if performance is a goal, and or longevity. So today I want to dive in some articles. So if you can watch on the YouTube channel, Low Carb Athlete, you can check out the articles I am reviewing. If you're listening, you can head to debbiepotts.net to the blog post to get a little bit more on the links, research links, and articles I'm talking about. So let's dive into a few things I want to talk about. So first of all, as you might know, because I've been talking about this for a few weeks and decided to finally purchase it. It's called Pnoe Metabolic Testing Cart. And Pnoe, P-N-O-E, we have interviewed one of the co-founders, Panos, back in 2018, long time ago. I met him at Ironman Hawaii at the Race Expo along Leahy Drive and podcasted with him a few months after Ironman that year. And then last year, 2022, in April, I looked at purchasing it again and then decided not to get it. And now I felt the need. I was ready to launch this new business. So with that, I'm going to be metabolic testing in North San Diego, resting test and active test. But along that way, I'm sharing some articles I am learning from, I was going to say my zones, but we used to always do my zones. Figure out your zones. I did heart zone training with Sally Edwards when we first started talking about heart rate monitor stuff. Oh my gosh. Before it's like 1995, long time ago. So I've always done heart rate training, and I've done New Leaf fitness testing back in 2005 to 2012 on and off. I had access to testing cart and used to test my athletes and people who are just struggling to lose weight, and people that wanted to get performance goal, but to get their heart zones. So anyways, this article I'm reviewing, the importance of training zones for health and performance. So key points: training zones are your heart's response to energy generation process as the workout intensity increases. Metabolic particularities differentiate the training zones per person. Training zones change over time. Really big note. I will be ideally retesting people every quarter. So if you did a fitness test, say like my last one was years ago, and before my metabolic chaos adrenal fatigue I had in 2013 on, if I'd looked at my test results from 2012 when I was in the best shape of my life, the numbers are not the same today. So it's really important to know that the training zones that we find when we do a metabolic test change over time depending on the type of training, the nutrition programming you follow, so nutrient timing, and you need to reevaluate to remain reliable. So not doing a test and thinking that's how it is for life. So the metabolic analysis is the gold standard in personalizing training zones and plan to overcome limitations. I really would love to see more fitness studios as Orange Theory and those people using MyZone and F45 and all these people doing interval training test people with Pnoe device, or if there's something else out there, because the training zones, you can't just use that age or always a RPE. So what we look at, if you're looking at the video, is the difference between fat and carbohydrate burn as exercise intensity increases during a treadmill or a bike or anything with watts. We could do it on the Aerodyne bike. We can do it on a rowing machine if that's what you're training on. Now you can see the dark green line is fat, turquoise, kind of can see on here, carbohydrates, and the light green is heart rate. What bad colors? They all look the same. But anyways, this is the article, fat. You can see what's the light green is heart rate. So this is the light green, I think. And here's your carb usage is probably this one here. And the darker green is fat. So see this, if you're watching the video, when the fat goes down, as right here, and you see this point, metabolic crossover point. This is what we can find during doing a test is this metabolic test. You have a face mask on, measuring oxygen in, carbon dioxide out, measuring your breath analysis as well. So we can figure out what zones you are. So this, for example, we use zone 2 will be more that aerobic engine-based training. So the top end of your zone would be this point. What heart rate did your fat to carb change? So the fat metabolic crossover point is right here. See the carb usage goes up and the fat goes down. And then the bottom of your zone 2 would be, where is the peak fat burning rate? What heart rate was that? So could be here, kind of goes up here again. So maybe your zone 2 would be, in this range here. So whatever those heart rates. So what we do when you're getting a metabolic test, we figure out your intensity in the heart zone. So I won't go through this whole article, but the described above exercise intensity zones are based on the body's metabolic responses when exercising at a specific intensity. The metabolic response is broadly defined by the calories expended and the contribution of fats and carbohydrates in the calorie burning process at that particular intensity. To measure calorie expenditure along with fat and carbohydrate consumption, one needs to analyze individuals' expired oxygen and carbon dioxide using the metabolic analyzer that we use as PNOE. Since metabolic testing can be done in a test or evaluation setup and not on every training session or athletic event, one needs to use a proxy metric that can easily be tracked, so daily, to map a person's metabolic response against it. So heart rate is what we tend to use if you're wearing a heart rate monitor. Now, using the heart rate on your Garmin watch, for example, I don't think is as accurate, especially, we talk about heart rate variability with the Aura or your Whoop. It's better, more accurate to have actually heart rate strap, a chest strap on to measure the right heart rate. So how are your different heart rate zones? The benefit of each zone? So let's skip down to here. Zone 1 is a training intensity typically used for warm-up or active recovery. So when you are doing a HIIT training going up to zone 4, 5, you need to come back down to zone 1 to properly recover. So rest-based training before you go hard again. Most people I see do not do this. Even in our swim workout, you're not recovering fully before you go out. So you're not actually going as hard as you could on those high intensity intervals because you didn't recover in between. So that's going to be dependent on your recovery markers and making sure you stop long enough. Some people might need longer. Okay, zone 2, you hear about all the time, that develops your mitochondrial function and improves, as you know, your fat burning efficiency. So it's highly recommended for long range endurance sports in individuals suffering from metabolic syndrome as type 2 diabetes. This will improve the mitochondrial function and support recovery capacity, helping you to recover faster after intense bouts of exercise. Okay, so zone 3, this can help strengthen your pulmonary muscles, improve cardiovascular function. This is an ideal intensity when suffering from lung or heart problems. Since it's moderate intensity, it offers a solid stimulus to the heart and lungs without being exhausted or overly strenuous. So if you have heart or lung problems and you're working with a doctor, make sure your doctor and trainer, coach work together, figure out your heart zones best to help this improvement. Zone 4. We love zone 4, but why do we like it? And when do we need zone 5? So zone 4 will help improve your VO2 max and ability to sustain high intensity exercise for prolonged durations by improving your lactate shuttling. Lactate is a byproduct of anaerobic metabolism, which can also be used as fuel by your muscles. For as long as your body can clear fatigue byproducts faster than they're being produced, the exercise intensity remains sustainable. As a result, the greater your lactate shuttling capability, the greater your ability to sustain high exercise intensities for longer periods. So that's zone 4. Zone 5, the last one in the zones that we use, will improve your VO2 max as well as it did in zone 4, but also your peak power output. So this is your maximum speed or the maximum cycling wattage that you can measure on the bike or the erg or the power airdyne type of bike. This exercise's intensity is sustainable 60 to 120 seconds and requires one to train at full potential. So doing those short intensity interval sprints, SITs, that Dr. Stacy Sims recommends women pre-postmenopausal need more of, those 20, 30 seconds all out, and then recover until you get to zone 1 and then go hard again, which I must add in there, if you're wearing heart rate to do short intensity intervals, the lag time getting your real heart rate doesn't really work. So you have to kind of more go by perceived exertion when you do the short intensity intervals. So here's a great picture, and I'll put this on my website, debbiepotts.net, head to the blogs, but the benefits of each zone. So zone 5, for example, this person might get up 179 to 186. These are the watts that he or she can be at. This improves VO2 max, enhances fat burning efficiency, and cellular health, increases your fatigue threshold. Zone 4, this person would be at 169 to 179 heart rate. Watts, 261 to 301. Increase fatigue threshold, increase anaerobic threshold, improve VO2 max. Zone 3, heart rate's 150, 169 for this individual. Remember, this is this person's unique results. This is not obviously one size fits all. It's N equals 1. This is their metabolic test results. This is a total example, but here's the heart rate ranges for each zone and their watts that they could do. So obviously they did this on a bike or other device with watts. Zone 2. So zone 3 is heart fitness. As we said, zone 2, fat burning efficiency, cellular health. So there's mitochondria and recover capacity. And zone 1 is your recovery zone. Here are your watts. So that's what you want to look at. So key takeaways, regardless of age, gender, and fitness level, every person has one or more systems that limit fitness or health. If we can identify what your limitations are that are holding you back from reaching your full potential, if it's weight loss or weight management, performance, longevity, we can target these limitations. I like to say areas of opportunity that requires precision that stems from focusing on your cardio and interval training in the right zones to bring out the required adaptations to help overcome them. So if we can identify not your weaknesses, but what areas you are less strong in and you need to create more of that homeostasis, that balance, then we can reach your full potential if we figure out how to manipulate your training schedule. But of course, we go into the holistic method. You can't out-exercise poor diet or lifestyle habits. So your full potential from training doesn't just require changes in your training, right? It's your sleep. Are you maximizing your deep sleep and REM sleep and recovery there? Are you working on your nutrient timing to optimize performance? Are you working on movement throughout the day that you're not just training that's sitting on your butt all day? So we want to figure out what your personalized program is. I call it the holistic method, training the whole you from the inside out. So then the article says the metabolic analysis provides the gold standard accuracy in determining your training zones and your plan to help create the results that you're looking for. So if you could understand how your body works metabolically and build a program around your unique metabolism, where you are today, not 3 years ago, 6 years ago, 8 years ago, but right now, that snapshot, this is a foundational step towards maximizing your workout's efficiency and achieving your health or performance goals faster with less effort. If you have a specific plan, example, I heard this on a podcast. I can totally relate. When you go into the grocery store and you have a list, you have an agenda, get in, get what you need done, get out. Efficient. If you go into the grocery store and you know you need something, but you don't have a list, you kind of wander more, you get distracted, you are in there longer. Not so efficient for your time. So if we have a specific plan based on what your unique body, mind, health needs, then we can get a little bit more results. So performance, longevity, that's a great article on Pinoy. Now, S Fuels, I'm trying to get Leighton back on the show, but their article on sfuelsgolonger.com, great blog on research about zone 2 workouts, fat in the diet to maximize fat oxidation, best practices. So if you know what your zone 2 is, wouldn't you think you'd be able to figure out your fueling and training program before, during, after workout, and then timing your whole day on your exercise days? So they've done research with Dr. Dan Plu's lab, testing people and watching, you know, that you are metabolically flexible. There's some great information here. So athletes research conducted highly controlled crossover study to look at the effects of 4 weeks of a lower carb, high fat diet versus a high carb, low fat diet on your performance and fat oxidation on highly trained middle-aged athletes. I'm not sure if that included female athletes, but the study showed that a high carb diet offered no performance improvement at high VO2 max intensities over the low carb, higher fat diet. So they said that fat oxidation rates dramatically rose on the low carb, high fat diet, and blood glucose levels were in healthy range, and total HDL, LDL, total cholesterol increased. Now, the period of time on this study was only 4 weeks, and that's a short period of time. And reviewing the diet in the study as keto, quote unquote, 40, 50 grams of carbs a day is, I think, really low. And so they can look at the higher fat consumption and the lower carb consumption. But Leighton pointed out that it's also worth noting that the same 4-week period of the study, the higher carb diet triggered clinical signs of prediabetes, their fasting blood glucose over 100 millimoles, and it measured with their CGM in 30% of athletes. So whenever you see studies, I always look at who is it done on? How long was this study? What were they measuring? Was it male and female? But what were they looking at, and what were the food they're eating? Because I hate the word keto. I think it can be really processed food. It can be packaged keto foods that have the fake sugars in it and just a bunch of guar gums and stuff versus real food. So really looking at what the study is and then figure out what to get out of this. But here's what S Fuel said. Leighton Phillips, 4 best practices: increase fat in your diet. They have multiple studies, meta-analysis, are now showing increasing the ratio of fats to other macronutrient substrates as carbohydrates in the overall diet will raise fat oxidation efficiency. As a general guide, cold keto transition, as we learned from Dr. Dan Plews in his Enduro program that I have done previous videos on, is 4 weeks, but women are more 6 weeks in that program, matching their cycle to the cold keto days, would have 70% calories coming from fat and 50 grams per day of carbs. And then after, if you listen to my previous videos or watched them, you'll see the cold keto phase isn't forever. It's 2 weeks, 2 weeks for women, 4 weeks, and you're matching your exercise with that. So definitely we move back up after your cold keto phase when you're new to switching from a standard American diet to a lower carb, higher fat and protein diet, that you're getting more 100 to 200 grams to 300 grams. For some active people can tolerate a lot more grams of carbohydrates. And then we time those, and you have to earn your carbs with your exercise and be metabolically flexible. So you're not so strict in being cold keto all the time. It's just a reset. It's not staying 50 grams a day for an athlete. It's resetting your metabolism. But then we still want to be flexible and doing higher carb days based on your cycle, and then like a 1 day a week there's different things we've talked about. So anyways, that was a side note, but using fats, MCT oil in your diet and fueling, animal human studies suggest performance enhancement and mitochondrial genesis efficiency come through the use of MCT fats. So you'll know S Fuels, they have some MCT oils in their train that I just used in my bike ride this weekend. MCT oils C8 and C10. And they have their shake and transform, and they'll have that. I use also Laird's coffee creamer, unsweetened, has the mushroom adaptogens in it. I actually have it here with some coffee, and have some MCT oil in the coffee and the mushroom energy cordyceps. And what else is cordyceps? Chaga, a couple other good brain health. So you want to choose healthy fats, and then beyond MCT oils that you're getting in a liquid, different brands, but getting S Fuels products, if it's bulletproof, or there's different ones you can get from the C8, C9, C10, from C8, C10 forms are what's best. And also there's a company I was just talking to, Team Keto. They have some good products as well for athletes. So you want to choose healthy ones as avocado, olives, olive oil, almonds, looking at good, healthy fats. Peanuts, I know a lot of people can't do peanuts, are high mold, so I'm not a big fan of having peanuts, but really looking at good other sources of oil, flaxseed, walnuts, fatty fish. I don't like sardines, but those kind of things. Now, you want to limit the palmitic acid, C1-6 this is a form of fat that's shown to have reducing effect on fat oxidation efficiency when tested over 4 weeks, which is short. And since the body can produce this fat over guidance, their guidance from S Fuels would be to let the body decide how much to produce rather than overconsume it. So overconsumption can happen easily, and the palmitic acid making 50 to 60% up of the total fat every day from meats, dairy, and butter. So the areas to limit is using, Leighton says, over avocado over butter. I like to use ghee, as well as grass-fed butter and avocado, but increasing your fish consumption versus having too much pork, chicken, beef. So, variety. I've talked to clients about doing the 4-day rotation plan that I learned years ago, is not have the same food every day, to rotate what meat you're having. So it's grass-fed beef. It's like Neil just made amazing chicken burger with ground chicken and feta cheese and seasonings in it, herbs. And then, I need to eat more fish, but having some wild caught salmon would be great. And then getting some other sources in there. So anyways, that's a good information from S Fuels, MCT C8C10. And I've been using their train. I'm going to start using it more this season on my longer bike rides. Now we can go to HVMN, talking about fueling in that zone 2 workout. So if you're looking for the ketone to take for athletic performance endurance, well, why do you need that? Why should you take ketones? Now I've been doing this more, experimenting with how I can amplify my brain energy, and taking a shot of HVMN ketone before I work. I know they also take this before a long workout for performance. I find it beneficial for cycling. I took it halfway on my longer bike ride on Saturday to optimize my brain health and focus when I'm riding, because it's a little more technical. But the protocol you can find on hvmn.com for performance is adding Ketone IQ pre and during workout program, give your body more efficient, readily utilizable energy versus carbs alone. So Ketone IQ, you can take it as well as your favorite pre-drink coffee and during race nutrition. So they suggest use it in training, obviously nothing new race day. Take it 30 to 60 minutes before your workout or effort. And they say 1 to 3 shots of Ketone IQ on top of your existing nutrition protocol, re-up every 1 to 2 hours. So longer bike ride or trail running might be good for this. Tracking your macro more precisely. They talk about taking 3-to-1 ratio of grams of carbs to ketone. 1 shot of Ketone IQ is 10 grams of ketones for every 30 grams. Or if you're taking that with your 30 grams of carbs, would be a Martin pack of their oil, or not oil, it's gel or goo. Now, I don't do goos. I haven't been doing that. I think if I was racing, I would try the S Fuels Race Plus. I am doing lower heart rate zone 2 on a bike ride, but my heart rate still comes up because I'm doing hills, and I am going to be burning carbs as well as fat. So it's not just only burning fat. So you do need, I think, something on a longer bike ride that has a ratio of fat, carb, protein. I like Laird's bars that brand new out. You can look on their website. There's also Ketone bars. There's also S Fuels that you can have just liquid calories. So benefits of taking Ketone IQ: ketones are more efficient, stimulant-free, more fuel for your pathways, more usable energy. So you're looking at not having GI distress. Have lots of information here on ketones are glycogen sparing, so you can not have the bonk. Your body uses ketones as a preferred fuel source, meaning that the glycogen stores are depleted less quickly, and you're more power with less oxygen. They say as a fuel source, ketones provide more power with less oxygen than carbohydrates. This is helpful if you are in a low oxygen environment, like higher altitude. I have a client that's training for a long trail run in Colorado. So she's gonna be at super high elevation, obviously, near up 10,000 feet, and you could try something like this. So taking Ketone IQ, lots of information here also on their athletic recovery. I find interesting as well to experiment with their protocol for recovery is, have a protein with little carb shake is what I do. S Fuels has a great one. There's Ketone, there's Team Keto, there's different things you can do. I've been adding a little bit of frozen fruit. If I did a harder workout like Saturday, I know is anaerobic a lot and not burning 100% fat. So I had a shake with frozen chunk of banana, a full avocado, and had my protein mixed with creatine and colostrum and glutamine. And then I added some ice and water and a little bit of almond butter for flavor. And then I had some maca as well and mushroom adaptogens. So taking a ketone shot could help that as well. So recovery from training sessions, they had one study that found athletes on overtraining trial taking exogenous ketones for recovery and their sleep on top of their standard protein, fat, carb nutrition over a 3-week period. Again, we don't know. You have to look at the study. I love HVMN, but this study I have to dive into. All right, one study on athletes. Who are the athletes? What age they are? That makes a difference in gender. But they found over a 3-week period, adding this in, which is a short study, just 3 weeks, but found a 15% increase in their training volume and a 5% improvement in performance at the end of the 3-week trial. So that's pretty impressive in such a short period of time to get 15% increase in training volume. So they were doing an overtraining trial, taking the ketones for recovery and their sleep, and they found improvement. So that's helping you recover faster for training sessions. So maybe your next workout, you can go just as hard or long. Build back muscle. Ketones can help with muscle protein resynthesis, helping your body build back stronger after your race or workout. So interesting to dive into that. If you want to go back to find that on my podcast, we did 2 episodes this last year on HVMN taking Ketone IQ. So really good information there. And then lastly, this is a whole episode, but I just want to share this article on Ketone, getketone.com, blogs, healthiest protein powder. So what protein to have after your workout? Essential amino acids are much different than branched chain amino acids. You can go back and listen to a podcast we did with Angelo Keeley, who's one of the co-founders with Ben Greenfield at Ketone. We did a full episode on essential amino acids. Super fascinating, but I've been curious about if people can't do whey, because I do a lot of lab testing with clients, and there's clients that can't do whey. They react to it. It's inflammatory. What are some other options? Beef protein is higher glycine. There's vegan proteins, but how do you get them to right amino acid profile in a vegan protein. So pea proteins, rice protein, there's some information here. And then gelatin, that's a good way to get glycine, having some jello, and then collagen and whey. So this is just a great article to learn about what is the best protein powder. The answer is there's no one protein source is best for everyone or anyone. So there's a variety of benefits from each type of protein, various nutrients and amino acid profile in each of these protein sources. So if you are looking for plant-based protein, consider pea protein or rice protein. But I need to find the article. I was asking this one at Expo West trade show, interviewing companies, that you need, I think, all three, pea protein, rice protein, and whatever the other one is, to make a complete, well, it says here, pea and rice protein can be combined to get a complete amino acid profile. So I'm more focused on what protein powder is best for you. Ideally, real food over powders. We don't want to get a lot of powders. It's more drying. And if you look at Ayurvedic medicine, too much powders, too much dryness in your body, you want to be able to absorb it. So you got to limit just so many shakes and powders, but pea and rice can help complete amino acid profile because we want to get that glycine and the leucine. And leucine, I found an article from Dr. Axe, leucine, the muscle building amino acid, what the body needs. This is a great resource as well. And you can find out there's a lot of pop-ups. What is leucine? Benefits to build muscle, prevent muscle loss, improve performance, aids in fat loss, muscle recovery, balances blood sugar. So really getting leucine from your foods, and ideally rule foods first over the powders. But that's why I look at what type of protein powder to have. So leucine helps the protein synthesis. So builds muscle, prevents muscle loss, improves performance, fat loss. I just said all that. But what's that in? Spirulina, peanuts. Most people can't do peanuts, but spirulina, cottage cheese. I stay away from dairy, a lot of it, but cottage cheese you can do if you can tolerate that. Sesame seeds, if you can do seeds, chicken, wheat germ, hemp seeds, tuna fish, eggs, venison, lentils, and all. So seeds and grains, you got to be careful. You have to properly soak and prepare them so they don't irritate your gut wall lining. Grass-fed beef, oats. Most people can't do oats if they can't do gluten, wheat. Then there's turkey breast, elk meat, which I'm not going to do elk meat, but those are some good options. But if you're going back to having a protein powder, how to choose the right powder, that's a good combination. So vegan protein, pea and rice protein. So there's easiest way is essential amino acid supplements as the powder, or you can get drink mix that have, or powder, or the capsules that have all 9 essential amino acids. So that's what Keon is. It's a plant-based. So that's a great option if you can't do whey, but you want to get more protein pre and post workouts. And it's a good option for on the go. And then we've got whey isolate. That's actually the best to have that leucine, that amino acid profile with the highest amount of leucine in it. That's a great choice for building muscle, help recovery and weight management, as we just went over, but getting the right amino acid profile is key. So whey isolate protein is what they suggest. And supporting your connective tissue, bones, cartilage, skin, tendons, you want to look for gelatin. So gelatin is important. That's why I like bone broth for my clients. I even have bone broth fasting days for some people, having bone broth on your recovery days or post hard workout days, but adding connective tissue support is really important. So having the collagen in there, but bone broth is best for that, I think. And then other things you can do is add collagen into your tea. You know, a lot of them dissolve pretty easily. Coffee into your shakes, but it helps your hair, skin, nails. So collagen is what we want more of. So if you can eat that food. So that was a great article that just popped up in my inbox from Keon. And then you can look up other articles on Chris Kresser, wanted to go into. And then we've got triathlete nutrition for triathlons to go into on recovery. And Stacy Sims, I know her recovery protocol does have the protein and carbs, but how to fuel for longer distances for female athletes. Some things I would adjust a little bit on her suggestions, but really looking at getting your fuel in that window. So I've got pop-ups all over here because I was looking up furniture. Now I've got furniture ads everywhere. Love how that works. Spies everywhere. But here's the article I want to go into, a Half Ironman Nutrition Plan from April 2023. So this is recent, but looking at nutrition plan. Now this goes back to the beginning of the point of this call. It's talking about zones. So if we go back to testing and not guessing with someone that can do metabolic testing with you, that would be where I'd start, figure out how to fuel and train. And then when we're looking at your nutrition plan, we have a little bit of a better idea to figure out nutrient timing and your day to weekend. It's going to vary. So nutrient timing and performance recovery, really important to look at that on an individual basis. And so we can go into this article another time, but nutrient timing is strategic consumption of energy, macronutrients, fluids, and micronutrients in the hours before, during, and after exercise to optimize performance, enhance adaptations to exercise, and accelerate recovery. So recommended intake of carbs for most endurance athletes is going to vary. So we've got, all different recommendations. I like to work with individuals to figure out what works best for them on the carb timing. A lot of people will say, keto carnivore, no carbs are required, and they're not. But if you're doing more higher intensity, I don't want to use, I know I can make glycogen from protein and fat, but I don't want to lose muscle. So I don't want to convert protein into glycogen because I need that muscle. So I don't want to use it up. So if you need to add a little bit of nature's carbs as sweet potatoes or russet potatoes cooked in bacon fat and serve it with a protein in your evening meal, or for me, it's late afternoon meals, my main meal weekdays, and then time that after my long bike ride and long run on the weekends, I can add a little bit of carbs in there and experiment, because I was so strict for so long. But you have to ask, is what I'm doing working for me? Is my fueling and training plan causing me to not lose weight, maybe gain weight, maybe have poor sleep? Maybe I'm going to be getting slower or not faster. And I've been doing this for 6 months because, the first 6 weeks you might be in transition period. So there's so much to look at. So nutrient timing, mapping it out is really important. But anyways, you can check out this article on Pinoe.com, the role of nutrient timing in performance and recovery. And I tried to talk about this a lot in other episodes, but just think about getting that protein. I think that's the big thing we talk about, is optimizing protein, getting your fat, protein together, and then changing the nutrient timing for your carb, real food carb, not the crappy stuff, based on your intensity, duration of your workout. And then females that are still cycling, we want to, ovulation is estrogen building days. And then luteal phase, you want more progesterone building foods. And those are going to be more tropical fruits and the potatoes and things like that are not keto. So really look at things individually. All right, let's head to debbiepotts.net to learn more.